Hi everyone, my name is Lee Hall. I'm a Quaker. I'm here with David Castro, who's also a Quaker. And our Quaker meeting is right here in Villanova. So it's Radnor Friends meeting, 610 Conestoga Road. And we're very pleased and very touched that Villanova invited Quakers into this community and into this activity. And what we did with Emerge, the booklet that you have in front of you, I hope, what we're doing with Emerge is we set up, because of the importance of climate and spirituality and connection, we set up the Climate Action Committee for Radnor meeting. And the query before us was, well, we know this is important, but how do we bring the community to also understand this is important? And change our perspective and change our lives, because this is a human-driven emergency we're dealing with. And we looked at, well, first of all, the photography is, the photography is something you love, and it's something you may lose, but it's something you may protect. It's something you love. It's someone you love. And what would be the catalyst to protect someone so beautiful? And this is Michael Zager's photography, who's been working with us. We created a website, emergevalues.org, and it's on the back of the booklet. And then we looked at the Quaker value set. It's a 6-letter word. The most everyone feels guides our everyday ethical, our everyday decisions, where we can find our values in spices. This is rooted in tradition, the word spices, the acronym. Simplicity, peace, integrity, each letter. Community, equality, and stewardship. And I know, Sam, you're going to talk to us about stewardship and evolving ideas of stewardship, which are so happy about this, because it's just a perfect following, because we're looking at this traditional, right, stewardship. Do we need to replace these values with something evolving so that we take ourselves away from the dominionist role? Is that something we need to question? And that seems to be at the crux of this. So we came up with this new value set, and a new 6-letter word, inspired by the tradition. Because people won't change or do something or even accept it as new information if it's not rooted in their current belief system, their current value system, even deeper. Emerge, we did this together, and it seemed to be an inspired kind of process. So what happened seemed to be happening through us. It was David who first said, emerge. Those are the letters were coming. And so we made the booklet. E was the first letter, empathy. We envision a robust empathy following 18th century abolitionist Quaker Benjamin Lay, who became a leading figure in the abolitionist movement in North America. And also, wouldn't get on the back of a horse. Okay, so this is somebody whose cages, whips, in any context, for any member of our fellow living communities was anathema to Benjamin Lay. So we can look back at the traditions of Quakers and where were they? What was the message there? I will not get on a horse, because why should somebody else be my beast of burden? So we're taking empathy, and that broad ecological empathy that we hark back to Benjamin Lay and find. All this, by the way, is in the book, so it's beyond 10 minutes. Mindfulness is the M. we cultivate sensitivity to the effects of unmindful privilege. We just heard this talk on migrant refugees, and this expresses exactly what's going on here. Those with the least resources, those who can not easily move, bear the brunt of climate and biodiversity disintegration. So those that cannot run in the bio communities, right? Those that cannot run. And in the human communities, we're talking about those who do not have the money to adapt to the flooding. Those are the first leading edge, usually. Asheville seems to be a surprise because people thought they could get away from climate disaster by living in Asheville. It was called a climate haven until a few days ago. The next E, the second E, is ecological integrity. So we're talking about simple meals. We're talking about growing crops as food rather than promote a global feed shipping system. Growing food, not feed, is a simpler way to nourish ourselves. We're thinking about socially just, community-oriented transit. And we're looking at these ideas of ecological integrity as the default modes. So it wouldn't be, you have the option, we would be thinking first off, so what's the best way to do the diet or to do the transit, right? And make that the default rather than the alternative. Mindful living, we go to the word integrity, which came from spices, the original acronym. Mindful living reintegrates us, so there's your integrity, with our earth. And because we'd be aligning ourselves with nature, the power of nature, the results could unfold relatively quickly. We would be on the right side of nature, so that's a form of connecting with a very powerful idea, ecological integrity. Right action, this is in your book, so you can read it beyond the 10 minutes, but action has to follow acknowledgement. So discerning right action implicates the testimony of simplicity from spices, because we'd be striving to live within our ethical means on a finite earth, to simplify our lives, to support others' efforts to do so. Right action considers vulnerable people and present and future generations of all living beings. We acknowledge that what Earth produces are not the fair spoils of the privileged, nor are they humanity's resources alone. Growth is often talked about in economic circles, but we're talking about spiritual growth here. So this is the G in emerge. And many of you, I'll bet, have heard this quote from Gus Speck, the former UN Sustainable Development Group chair, who once thought the top global environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. And Speck later said, but I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with these, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. I would say the same about we lawyers. Both David and I have law degrees and can speak to the limits of the legal system in dealing with what we're dealing with. So the transformation needs to be cultural and spiritual. That means that Radnor Quakers have a role. That means that Villanova, that's why we're here, because we have a role. We're playing it, we're learning it. We need to play that role. We're in the first generation that realizes what our extractive behavior has done. We're seeing the effects, so it's up to us, once we acknowledge it, to step up. And this will be a lifetime striving. It was for Benjamin Lay. The abolitionist work that Benjamin Lay did had to be beyond Lay's lifetime, because Benjamin Lay was telling the Quakers, we need to get the peace testimony, and slavery can't possibly represent who we are. If Quakers are looking for peace, then how can we tolerate slavery? So we've got to get out in front of this issue. And I believe it was on Benjamin Way's deathbed, being told that, yes, the Quakers are going to stop members from owning slaves. And from then, we went into the 1800s, and the Quakers were in leadership roles in the abolitionist movement. So that speaks to the endurance, that what you're doing may not be immediately visible, but you never give up. Major Quaker concerns involve lifelong striving, racial justice, LGBTQ advocacy, economic justice, nonviolence, support for migrants, and criminal justice. All share that characteristic. We need endurance, and this is not a prescription. This is not a to-do list that everybody is bound by. This isn't somebody telling somebody what to do. This is a touchstone for our personal and our community inquiry. We'd like it to be a catalyst for humanity's emergence from a domination-driven species into one that respects other living communities that we're a part of on this earth. So with an emergence of humanity into a humanity with a deep commitment to the flourishing of Earth's living, evolving communities.
Thank you.